So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I see some people are still coming, so I propose to wait 2 more minutes before starting the webinar and give the opportunity to the last ones to join. Okay, so let's start. So once again, welcome everybody and good afternoon. So my name is Sophie Bontemps, for those who do not know me. I'm managing the Sen4CAP project, and I will manage this webinar with my colleague Diane, who is with me. So Diane is the one really working on the algorithms, the products at UCL. And from the consortium, we are today with Laurențiu from CS Romania, which is more on the IT side. And so we are very pleased to welcome you to this webinar. So this has been a long time since the last webinar, and so we apologize for that, but we will try to recover a bit and to present you nice results today. So like usual, the webinar will last more or less 1 hour. It will be recorded, so this is already recording in fact, and the recording will be put on the website. So this time that will not be in the coming 48 hours because our colleague is on holiday. It will take a bit longer, but it will be available soon. During the webinar, I will ask you if everyone can mute his mic. So you can see that the webinar is organized in different points. At the end of each point, we stop and we open the floor for questions, and then you can just open your mic and discuss. But during the talk, this is easier and more comfortable for us if you are muted. So this is the outline of today. There is also the chat if you want to ask questions during the talk, or if you want to introduce you, do not hesitate to write your comments, your questions, and we will try to answer them along the session. So this is the outline of today. I will make a short overview of the project today, and then we will have 2 main topics. The first one is the new items in the system. So the version 3.1 was delivered in July, and so we will shortly remind what was new. And we will also present the next version, 3.2, which will be released during the next month. And then the second point, which is in fact the main point for today, we will present you the first results we get on the new use cases that were selected in 2022, and over which we are working with different pilot countries. So you will know more in a few minutes. And then we will conclude with the next events of the project. So let's start with the short overview. So Sen4CAP Sen4CAP started as a project almost now 4 years ago. So this was a, let's say, traditional project with funds by the European Space Agency. We were working with pilot paying agencies, and we were working in a very, let's say, clear framework, developing applications and a system. for these applications, but now Sen4CAP is no more a project. We do not have a full consortium with us, but we have a system, open source system, that is uptaken by a big community of users, among which you belong. This Sen4CAP system, we are working on this to make it evolve to better fit your needs. So you can see here the number of downloads. You can see the different countries with which we are collaborating. Sen4CAP is also available on CreoDIAS. So there are machines that you can hire there to test and to run it. And so in that sense, this is no more a project, but this is a tool which is living, and we try to provide the necessary support to make it evolve following your needs. So the principle behind Sen4CAP is can be summarized by this slide with a big markers database. So there are markers and also signal statistics. So this vocabulary is important, but these markers and signal statistics are aggregated at the parcel level from Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2 time series. And this database is growing over the season. So each time there is a new acquisition, each date there is a new image, we compute the new statistics or the new markers, and we store this information in the database. And this database is crossed with the subsidy application as soon as the dataset is available. And with that, we can derive different products. The products that were initially designed in Sen4CAP, but also your own products, because you can directly plug in on the markers database through an API interface to do what you want with these markers. So with this architecture, we try to be really, let's say, flexible and to allow your as many applications as possible. So this is the system. I will not go into detail, but just a few points. It's running with Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2. There are different processors. You don't need to use the full system to be interested in Sen4CAP. So this has been demonstrated on CreoDIAS, but it can be run on the different DIASes also. It can also be run locally. And we worked a lot to make it more user-friendly, also for the installation through the Dockerizations of the main components. It runs very simply. You upload your data, you define the main parameters first, so the area, the monitoring period, the sensor you want to use. Then you can already run and initialize the system, and as soon as you get your own data, the subsidy applications, but also some configuration files, you upload the information, and the monitoring takes place along the season. Different resources that you can access. So there is the website that you know, the webinar, the forum. In the past, we organized also some training. The last training was during the Pantare conference, so not so long, in fact, in June 2022. And we can continue with the new algorithms, the new use cases, if this is needed or if there is interest from your side. Two last information before jumping in the content of the system and the new algorithm. So Sen4CAP is used as a building block of the EO widget project. So the EO widget project really aims at providing the checks by monitoring and area monitoring as a service. And so Sen4CAP is one of the building blocks that I used to develop all the applications. So if you are interested, so this EO widget project was already presented in the past webinar, but if you are interested, you can always contact me, and I will provide you more information about that. And also another project in which you can find Sen4CAP. So this is the Agriculture Virtual Laboratory. So this project is not an operational project. This is more an R&D project. So I don't know if some of you belong to the research community, but this is a laboratory where different tools can be tested, and Sen4CAP is one of the available tools, and this is more a platform for doing research that will become available soon for all your agriculture scientists. Yeah, so more information will be available, but we can follow up on this project when this is ready. So this was for the first point. So a short recap of what we are doing in the project now. I guess there is no question, and so maybe we can continue with the system evolution before going to the use cases. So for the in July 2022, we released the version 3.1 of Sen4CAP. So this version was much expected because it supports Maya 4.5.4, and this Maya 4.5.4 in fact supports the changes in the Sentinel-2 product format. So there were a lot of discussions on the forum on that. So you could still run Sen4CAP using Sen2Core to have access to the more recent Sentinel-2 data. But if you wanted to have the quality of cloud masks coming from Maya, you needed this version 3.1, which was delivered in July. So another improvement in this Maya 4.5.4 that I wanted to mention, so on top of the adaptation for the new format, is a clear improvement in the aerosol estimation methodology. So in the previous version of Maya, I will not go into detail, but there was a bug that made that there were very low values. This is on the images, all the dark areas. There were very low values in the images when you were in a period with very few images. So this was due to a bug in the codes that was corrected. And so now you will get a quality in terms of reference value similar to previous versions of Maya. So this has been corrected also. If you want more information on that, so you can go on the CESBio website and you will have the full detail. How to access this version 3.1 of Sen4CAP? So of course, this is easy if this is a new installation. You take the version 3.1, you install it, and Maya, the new Maya will be automatically installed. And if you had a previous version, in fact, you just have to run the update script and the new Maya will automatically be also updated. Do not forget to also update the GIPP files. This is not automatically done. If you install or if you update, you need to update also these files. And so how to do that is detailed in the system user manual, but do not forget to update them. And also, do not forget, this is a strong advice, do not forget that the full-time series must be pre-processed with the same algorithm. So if you started 2022 with Sen2Core, you need to complete the season with Sen2Core, or if you want to switch to Maya, you have to restart the full season with Maya. So this is not possible to have the first month pre-processed with Sen2Core and the last month pre-processed with Maya. So this is a prerequisite for the other processing. So this was for the version 3.1, and now some information about the next version 3.2 that will be that will be released during the next months. You can see here the new items that will be included. The first one is the possibility to use fmask. So fmask is a new, it's an algorithm to detect clouds that performs quite well. So we tested it and we are using it in a variety of contexts. And so the quality of the cloud mask is quite good. And so here there is the possibility, fmask is something that can be run alone. And so you can use Sen4CAP, run the fmask and combine the fmask with Sen4CAP, but you can also run Maya, use fmask, combine the fmask on top of Maya, and then combine. So this is an additional information about the cloud masking that can be available for you if you want. There will be the updates for the collection 2 of USGS. Yes, there were some changes in the format of the Landsat 8. So now it will be available again. Some corrections, some bug fixings, the possibility also to cut the Sentinel-1 data by Sentinel-2 tiles as an option. So you can clip the Sentinel-1 data on your Sentinel-2 tiles if you want. Also the possibility to determine the interval for computing the currents 6 days or 12 days automatically. And a more comprehensive markers database. So based on what we did during the last months, the markers database will be including new signal statistics and markers. So for the moment, there is the mean of, for instance, of all the spectral bands that is stored. So the mean at the parcel level, the mean and the standard deviation. And now in the update, there will also be the median, the percentile 25 and 75 that will be included. And there will be also a Jupyter notebook that will be provided that allows accessing the markers database and so creating new indices that you want for your own applications based on what already exists in the database. So, but there is the possibility to tune the content of the markers database to your own needs. And that's it for this version 3.2. So I don't know if there are questions for the version 3.1 or the next one to come. Feel free to unmute or to use the chat. So if there is no question, we can move to the next topic. And so I will give the floor to my colleague Diane, who will introduce you the work that was done for the new use cases. So, Diane.
So hello everyone. So I will start with the new pilot countries and more specifically the new paying agency that we have been working with this year for the new use cases. So we are working with 8 new paying agencies in various places around Europe. And they have been involved in one of the 3 use cases or more. Some of them are even involved in the 3 use cases. And so we have decided to look at 1 or 2 Sentinel-2 tiles and 1 or 2 years according to the use case they've been involved in. And so we have now all the image process, Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2, that are available in a big machine on CryoDIAS. So now we are able to look at the analysis for the 3 use cases. But what are there? So first, we are looking at the heterogeneity within the parcel. So we will look at the parcel within the boundaries and look if there is more than one management, for example, and how it evolves over time. The second use case is the Bearsall marker, and there we are using various optical and SAR variables to determine if the parcel has a Bearsall or not. And the third use case is the change of cover from one year to the other. So we will look at the evolution over time and to look in a multi-annual analysis. So first, the sub-parcel heterogeneity detection. So here the goal is really to look within the parcel and see if there is more than one management and if what could be due to the management. But here the main goal is really to look at the heterogeneity and if there is more than one parcel managed within the parcel boundary. So we had three approaches. So first, the clustering by Sentinel-2 tiles. So we did the clustering with at the pixel level, and now we have we tested that. The second approach is looking at the coefficient of variation at the parcel level, which is quite simple but has still good and is really quick. And the third approach is the looking at the statistical distribution and look if there is more than one parcel within the parcel, but it is not the one we have selected. In the end, we have selected the clustering by tile. So we this is the workflow. We have two lines, I would say, one with Sentinel-2 and one with Sentinel-1. Because we will look also at period where there is less Sentinel-2 image. So here the goal is really to look at the period of 1 month. So we will collect all the image of 1 month, for example, all the Sentinel-2 bands and the NDVI, and we will do a big stack of image with we will mask this image to have only the parcel and do a clustering by pixel with all this stack of image. And then we remove the isolated parcel, and then we obtain a raster of cluster, which is by pixel, and then we do an analysis at the parcel level to get results. Monthly results for Sentinel-2, and then we do the same with Sentinel-1, but there, instead of having all the image of 1 month, we first compute a monthly composite of backscatter, for example, the backscatter ratio, but also the coherence, and then we have first a composite with all the image, and then this composite is used for the clustering so that we have a smoother image that has less noise for the clustering. And then we have the same kind of result, which is a raster with all the cluster, and then we have the monthly result after the analysis at the parcel level. So that is the workflow for this first use case. So I will first now with the first preliminary result. So here in Wallonia, Belgium, so we have done the Sentinel-2 clustering, and we have looked at various months. Here is October, for example, and we see that there is not always the same repartition of cluster among the landscape, or something that can change. So there is, for example, more crop in one place and more grassland in another place, but still it handles well those differences, and it works pretty well among the whole landscape. And so we can here see the cluster on one side, and then the NDVI of one date, and not all the days of October, but you can then look at how it has been from the NDVI value and all the Sentinel-2 bands be computed into clusters that are then analyzed at the parcel level. Here is the Sentinel-1 result for Belgium again, where we have, for example, the coherence, the monthly coherence that is used to build the cluster. Here I've pointed out one parcel where we have a detection of two clusters within the parcel, and which is not as well detected with Sentinel-1, but it's still detected. And we can see that the pixels are bigger because it's 20 meters instead of 10 meters. So there is also less information with Sentinel-1, but it can still improve the detection thanks to its more larger time series. So here is the results in Saxony. I think it's June, where we have also detection in the on the all Sentinel-2 tiles, and we have also various landscape here. There is even parcel of water that were detected, but as homogeneous land, and there is really various type of parcel, and we can see here that some parcel has a detection with two area, and this area may come from only one of the two dates in during the month. So the cluster will be maybe less sure. So we will do after in the analysis, we are looking at the NDVI and look at the different dates in the NDVI and look at how how much the NDVI is different in the two clusters within the parcel. So there we will have a value of difference in NDVI, so we can be sure that how much the difference is there during the whole month and not only at one specific dates. So here is some results for Denmark, where we have here for Sentinel-2 two orbits crossing one tile. So the orbits are impacting a bit the results. So we don't know yet on how we will handle that, but one solution is to do first a resampling and then do the normal clustering as we have done up to now. And there is also the Sentinel-1 that has been already performed there, which is quite noisy but still interesting results. And if we look into the details there, in Denmark we have already computed the parcel analysis where we have this difference in DVI that we are looking. And then if there is more than one cluster within the parcel, we will look at the difference in NDVI. So some parcels are much different, such as the one, yeah, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but there where we have a small cluster with only 2 pixels, but still give a difference in the NDVI in 0.1, but because there is more than just one Sentinel-2 image behind, it has a good differences, but here below there is, it seems that there is a lot of differences, but the differences is only 0.07, so it's a bit less, but maybe there is other image in the time series that are less different than the one I've shown here. So that are the primary results that we have for now in the heterogeneity check, and we hope to show you more soon.
Maybe we can before going to the second use case, maybe you can see if there are questions. So I have seen on the chat that there were questions related to the previous talk, so we can come back to that later. But now, are there any questions and comment on the heterogeneity check on what Diane just presented? So there is one question. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was just curious when these heterogeneity markers will be incorporated into Sen4CAP.
Mm-hmm. When, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like it won't, as I saw, it won't be incorporated in the 3.2 version. So when will it be possible to use them?
So there will be. This is, you come to the last slide of the section with the next step.
Okay.
But so basically there will be first a workshop with the pilot countries in November, where we will present them the result and make a validation with them also. Because I mean this is a hand-to-hand process with our pilot paying agency. And then the implementation has new processors or as new plugins, whatever, will take place in parallel. But that is true that it will not be in the version 3.2. So we can imagine different scenarios on the delivery, when and how, but that will not be for the version 3.2. And so there was another question on the chat from Marcus. How many clusters do you use for the analysis? So there is not a unique answer, but maybe I can.
Yes, we have tested from 3 to 10 cluster, I would say. And for now, having 4 clusters is the best solution we had. That was the best solution in Wallonia, and so far what I have seen in the other country, it seems that the 4 cluster it's coming back also for in other places, but also for even during the months, it doesn't evolve. It doesn't really change from one month, like in March or in July. It's still 4 cluster, which is the same, like they give the best performance for the moment.
So this is important to understand that the clusters do not have a meaning in terms of crop class. So this is a meaning in terms of vegetation or no vegetation. And so this is just what we want to have. And in fact, if you increase the number of clusters, then the interpretation at the end becomes more complicated, because like Diane explained, there is the clustering. This is the first step. But the second one, if we come back to the workflow, the second one is really when you have to analyze each parcel, looking at the number of clusters and looking at the NDVI values of the different clusters within the parcel. So this is the key. So if you have many clusters, that becomes very complicated. So this is a balance between both steps.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe one small follow-up question. Did you use? I just read like the JRC-CBM that a paper that does like something similar. They have like an algorithm to determine like the detected components within. Like it seems like you use different. You check like for difference in NDVI between the clusters that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Is there also like some check for connectivity of the different clusters, or that it's like not like just some pixels at the border, but like that there's a large connected component of different pixels within that cluster, or do you plan something like this?
Yeah, this is something that we will also test. So that, I mean, this is not something that we plan to have different tools that will be made available for the analysis at the parcel level, and this is the way this is interpreted. We propose let's say a by default way of interpretation, but of course then you can fine tune and use it in a more efficient way or add parameters in your interpretation, because probably the best ways to interpret will not be the same in the different countries, and probably not in all the contexts. If you are very homogeneous area of grassland, maybe you don't need exactly the same than in a very intensive way of crop types. So, but yes, for sure, this is something that so the spatial context is planned, yes.
And
okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, yeah. And there is the step of removing the isolated pixel that also has like some parameters, such as like the number of pixels that can be said as isolated. So if there is like 3 pixels or just 1 pixel, so if you say that something is isolated, just saying like it's 5 pixels. So if you want really something really smooth, there is also the possibility to fine tune there. Yeah. And we have another question, which is the number of which band are used for the clustering. So we used all the Sentinel-2 bands at 10 meters. So the band 2, so the blue, red, green, and infrared, and also the NDVI. So that's the basis we have been using. We are also working on other variables in indices that that will be implemented in the system, that we will maybe also try in the clustering, but it will also be parameters that could be used and fine-tuned afterwards. For example, using the brightness, it's also a possibility that will be able in the future, because it will be implemented in the L3B algorithm. So if you first compute the brightness, you will be able maybe to ingest it also in the clustering.
And so this is not maybe the last comment on my side. This is not fully written on the slide, but each blue box has parameters, and there will be by default parameters that will be proposed. Like Laurence, you said, these parameters can evolve. So for the clustering, the number of clusters, we will propose a number, but this is configurable, of course. And like Diane said the same thing for the size of the window for the removing of isolated pixels, and again for the analysis at the parcel level. If you want to combine different information than what we propose, this is also feasible. The way also to combine Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2 will be free. So we see it for the moment at two parallel lines, I would say. But because at 20 meters, so this is of course less detailed than at 10 meters only. So if you have good Sentinel-2 data sets, it's probably better to work with Sentinel-2. But yeah, if you have no data or few data, and probably Sentinel-1 will become useful. But we do not have yet the, let's say, the sensitivity of the results to have. We do not see yet clearly how to combine and when to combine. What is the minimum number of images of Sentinel-2 that you need? So that we will continue working on that. Okay, so let's continue again for Diane for the second use case, which is the bare soil detection.
So here the challenges with the bare soil detection is not especially in summer, because in summer we have a lot of Sentinel-2 image, but in summer we know that there is the main crop and the harvesting, so we have already processor that detects the harvest and so on. But here the challenge is really mainly in winter to get the green cover and the destruction of the green cover and so on. And so we want here to have really a good line with Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 that can have really good features to show if the soil is bare or not. and to look also at maybe the decrease of the vegetation and so on. So what is the methodology here is, so we have also these two lines of Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 in the other side. So we will first look at the Sentinel-2, and we will select the variables and the metrics with a calibration dataset and build a random forest based on this calibration dataset, and then apply this model every 10 days, for example, for on each parcel. So you will be able to see if the soil is bare or not at 10 days time resolution, and you have this for each parcel with Sentinel-2, but the idea is also to use this calibration dataset on Sentinel-1 in order to have another model which is also applied after on each parcel. So we will have results for Sentinel-1 and for Sentinel-2. Here the idea is really to have the Sentinel-1, which is available when Sentinel-2 is maybe missing, or which is less valuable, since we don't have value, for example, for 1 month with Sentinel-2, then we have to look at Sentinel-1 or something like that. But how did we build this calibration dataset? So that's a key point. So we want to look at the bare soil, and for that we define some variables such as the NDVI, but also the bare soil index, or the differences in the tillage index, and these instances will be selected based on threshold, and so the values in these indices will be selected based on threshold, and this threshold will help us to build the dataset with bare soil and vegetation value. And now that we have this bare soil and vegetation value at what point in the month, so we have this a period where we know that when there is the bare soil and when there is the vegetation for a specific parcel, we can build on that the model. So, for example, here we have the bare soil in Wallonia, and we have seen that the NDVI value. So, if we want to be sure that there is less other cover and other things, we can really have a threshold, for example, of 0.2 in NDVI, and say, okay, if the value is is below 0.2 in the NDVI, and also below or in the BSI, it's the opposite. So it's if it's above another threshold in the BSI, we will be able to say, okay, this is bare soil, and then we have this calibration dataset full of parcels and full of dates that can be used for building the model. So we have already some results in Luxembourg, where we have so these time steps of 10 days, and we have detected the bare soil. And since it's a random forest model, we can have the confidence level related to the detection. So we have the confidence level in being a vegetated parcel, for example, 0.9, that evolves over time if there is new Sentinel-2 image, and if there is a low value in the NDVI, but also in the other variable used, such as the one I've mentioned before, the confidence in the bare soil could be really good, such as here we have really a detection of 1 in the bare soil, so we can be really sure that the soil is bare, when here again the NDVI is below 0.2, but sometimes the threshold, if the value is a bit higher, it will have a confidence level that is detected. So here it's a parcel of maize which has a destruction of the catch crop in April. So that's all for the bear side. And we have the third use case, where we are still, which is still in construction. And here the idea is really to link the value from one year to another. Sorry, to detect if there is changes from one year to another. Sorry.
And so, yeah, this is something that for which we do not have yet results to present you. So this is why we will not develop the methodology today. So I will take the questions maybe for the bear side and if there are. So there is a question: any result for the S1 based? So yes, there are results. They are not presented here because this is less friendly to show the Sentinel-1 images. But yeah, also with Sentinel-1, this is working good. So the Sentinel-1 is only used to run the model, not to refine the calibration data. The calibration data come from Sentinel-2 only. So the question was if we had results to show with Sentinel-1. So, but I explained that we do not show because the images from Sentinel-1 are not as nice as Sentinel-2. But yes, we can confirm that we get we get the same kind of results both from Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2. So here, I also must say that it was not tested with Sentinel-1 in all the test sites. So this was tested in Luxembourg, where maybe this is not the worst country in terms of cloud cover. But yeah, we can rely on that. Are there any other questions? Okay, so this is for the next steps. So where we are now, so the R&D took us a bit longer than what we expected. So we will finalize the two first use cases and we will start the implementation in the system more or less now. In the same time, we will start the last use case, so the change between categories from one year to the other one. And we will also validate with the users the results we have. So we do not expect to have to change everything after the validation. So the implementation can start in parallel of the validation. The validation will be, let's say, not really. We will not impact the basis of the implementation. So this is why it can start. So each country's pilot paying agency share with us data that will help us validate, and they will we will ask them also to give feedback on the products, and of course that will be shared and that will be communicated transparently with the whole community so that you can better handle the performance of the algorithms. So maybe I can just go to the last slide of the webinar, and then we can come back to the different questions and open the floor to you. So the next events, of course, there is always the forum. So this is not an event, but we are still there to answer you if you want. We will organize a workshop with the pilot countries with which we are working for the use case 2022 in November. So that will be organized, hosted by the Czech paying agency that we thank very much. And we will we are finalizing the invitation with them, and we will invite them. And the objective of this workshop is really to better understand the performance of the algorithm and to fine tune the methodology. And as I said, we will share the feedback of this workshop. For the version 3.2 of Sen4CAP that is planned for November. And the next webinar is for December, the 13th of December, where we will present probably the feedback from the workshop, but also the last results we get over the 3 use cases. So tuned results for the heterogeneity check and the bare soil detection, and probably more preliminary result for the 3rd use case. And that's it for us. So I don't know if you have questions, comments, feel free to unmute and to use the mic or to continue with the chat.
Thank you very much. So the implementation of these new features will be expected more in the beginning of the next year. Yes?
This is a complicated question. So Laurencio is there. Maybe I don't want to commit too much. I hope that we can do a gradual delivery, meaning that we don't need to have the 3 new implementations validated to be able to share. So I expect the heterogeneity check can be available before, can be available probably maybe by the end of this year, and the other ones can come a bit later, by beginning of 2023. But this is something that still needs to be discussed with my colleagues from CS. But
my question is also related to the formal end of the Sen4CAP project.
Yeah, this is always the key question. So the formal end is the end of December 2022 in terms of let's say consortium, I would say. That we will be a bit late, so there will be some continuation for, let's say, at least I would say 3 months in 2023 to let us the time to finalize, to validate, to deliver what is related to the use cases. And after that, there is, well, we are discussing with ESA to ensure support for the toolbox. So I am sure that we will not have another extension to develop new use cases or to develop new algorithms. I think that ESA was very clear with us that will not be possible. But I think that will be feasible to continue the support of the tool. So support means making that it continue to be running if there is a change in the format, if there are, let's say, this kind of continue to ensure that what has been developed is running.
But you said the same thing 2 years ago and 1 year ago, and it was always continuing. So yeah, is this really the end? Or?
Well, if this goes in that direction, that would be a very good news. But I think I cannot. Yeah, that would be very optimistic this time. So there is another question in the chat. Are you also upgrading the post-SQL component of Sen4CAP? So this is not a question for me, but maybe for Laurencio. So maybe Laurencio, can you unmute or answer in the chat? In the chat. I hope this answers the question. Other comment? Okay, but so I propose to stop here. Diane and myself, we will remain connected a few minutes more if there are some very last minute questions, but if not, thank you very much for joining. So we give you an appointment within 2 months for the next webinar at the latest, and for our pilot countries, we will send the invitation for the workshop during this week when we will have finalized it with our colleagues from the Czech paying agency. So thank you for joining, and we wish you a good afternoon and a good week. See you.